Well, hi everyone. I'm Charles Wrestling with a retro review of AWA Superclash 2 Electric Boogaloo from May of 1987. They went all the way to the Cow Palace in San Francisco. A lot of rich wrestling history there. Ray the Crippler Stevens, Pat Patterson, so many others had some great matches, some great feuds in Cow Palace, and that was a pretty hot venue for a while. And I mean, even in the 80s, you're like, okay, the AWA, even in 1987, Vern still believed it was the major leagues of professional wrestling. And you're thinking, okay, 16,000 seat capacity. They could fill it up, or they could at least get it half full. 2,800 people. And half of them looked like they were asleep. Now, to be fair, the AWA was, absolutely just dead in the water by this point, and would become even more dead in the water by 1990 when they did AWA Superclash 4. Oh boy, I remember reviewing that. But if you thought Wrestle Rock 1986 was boring, because it was almost 4 hours, this, thankfully, was only 2.5 hours, and was still boring. There were a couple of bright spots, there were a couple good matches, but by and large, this was very, very bland. So, yeah, you had a lot of empty seats when they did, shots of the crowd, and it was very, very disappointing to see the once proud and once prominent AWA reduced to what it was. It was Vern's fault, though, because he wasn't a very good businessman by this point. So we get Sheik Adnan El Casey versus Rock and Roll Buck Zumhofe. This was not very good. We get some decent, arm work and some decent wrestling here, but this was very, very boring because Adnan was not very good in the ring. Buck Zumhofe was a goddamn creep and hopefully is rotting in prison for what he fucking did. Read up on Rock and Roll Buck Zumhofe if you don't know what I mean. And there was a pin in the corner, a pin in the spotlight, and Adnan was losing his religion but did not lose this match. He got the victory with his feet on the ropes, and then Buck attacked afterwards. Not the last time you're going to see these guys in the, on the show, because they really had a skeleton crew for this. Then we had DJ Peterson, who was not a DJ, shockingly. However, he was a pretty good athlete. I would have expected Vern to go full comical at this point because he was trying to compete with the comical WWE, the cartoonish WWE. But he took on Super Ninja, not Super Giant Ninja the Yeti, which WCW did a little bit later. They took the Yeti. It was a mummy. Made him a Super Giant Ninja at, World War III, 1995, 1 month later. But he did have Ninja Go with him. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. It's in your head now. Why did Vern Gagne feel the need to have two ninjas on his roster? Did he owe Japanese businessmen some money? I have no goddamn idea. Maybe he thought ninjas were cool. Wait, Bischoff was part of this, so maybe it was the ninja throwing stars thing that he had. I have no fucking idea what the deal with this was. At least I think Bischoff was part of AWA at this point in 87. But yeah, two ninjas. What the fuck? That being said, the match wasn't all that bad, goofiness aside. There was a Super Ninja Superplex or Suplex, mentioned by commentary. That was his finisher, apparently. The action was fine. Ray Stevens did join commentary for this. And it went to a draw. I don't know why this went to a 15-minute draw, but it went to a goddamn draw. And it was very, very bizarre, because this match had no business going to a draw, even with the action being what it was. And DJ Peterson, I don't know what else he really did after the AWA, but he was a fine athlete. But yeah, Ray Stevens joins commentary after this. We get Sherry Martell versus Medusa Miceli, with Sensational Sherry and Medusa. That's basically who it is. AWA World Women's Championship. Not bad. This wasn't bad. Finally, something halfway decent. Now, it wasn't great, because a lot of these women's matches at this time were just a hair pulling, that kind of stuff. The catfighting, these two women were legit tough. I mean, Medusa's still around, but Sherry was legit tough. And they were hitting some good moves here and there. There were some nice submissions. There was a lot of screaming. But, of course, what ended it? The most devastating maneuver in all of professional wrestling, the surprise roll-up, and Sherry Martell gets the victory because you had some distractions and everything, and Medusa had an out. Miceli, there we go. Micella Miceli, I don't know what the hell I'm saying anymore. Monica Bellucci. You know what? That's a good actress right there. So, here we go. Nick Bockwinkel versus Kurt Hennig, AWA World Championship. Now, Larry Zbyszko is also there and says, hey, I want a shot at the winner, of this. Okay, cool. So you're thinking, all right, finally, they're going to have to give Hennig the title, because they did, at the end of 86, or it was the end of 86 or January of 87, where Hennig was bleeding. I think it was on AWA on ESPN, and Henning, like, went like the full hour with Bockwinkel, and it was a time limit draw. So you're like, okay, they got to give Henning a title here. And they did. Here's the problem. They did a fluky finish. So that pissed the crowd off right there. You know what crowd wasn't asleep by this point. So some good action and everything, some great submissions. Bockwinkel at this point was in his 50s, but you know what? Bockwinkel could still do some really, really, really good shit. And near the end, Henning's in the corner. Larry hands him something, even though we don't quite see it. It's a roll of quarters. He knocks out Nick Bockwinkel 1, 2, 3. And then the quarter, roll gets busted. So now the title is held up. So instead of doing the finish where you just had Henning get the championship and whatever, now we had to do an out with Bockwinkel, who, bless him, Nick Bockwinkel, R.I.P., one of the best world champions of all time. Carried himself like a world champion, was honest to God a great world champion, but you know what? He did not need to have this kind of fluky finish right here. The crowd was chanting bullshit. The crowd was pissed. Bockwinkel was upset. Henning shoves him. We get a little bit of a scrap there. And it really wasn't very good. The finale, that is. That being said, the match was good. Just the fact they did that fluky finish. And this is in the middle of the card. This is not at the end of the card. So the crowd had to get back up for the rest of the show, which was Midnight Rockers, Shawn Michaels, and Murray Jannetty, the man who dived through the window to escape. Did you see that? What an act of cowardice. And Ray Stevens. Great that they're giving Ray Crippler Stevens a run here. Such a young man at 54 years old. And I get it. He's legend, not knocking the guy at all. And I get it because they're in the Cow Palace. They wanted to get, a hometown reaction, so to speak, from him. But honestly, for him, but honestly, they did not need to be doing this and putting him in the match. It really wasn't a very good idea because he could still kind of go. And this was a way to keep him going, or to keep him from taking too many bumps. But it just, I don't know. This is where it's like, okay, they're kind of struggling here. They took on Buddy Wolf, Doug Summers, and Kevin Kelly, not the announcer, but the future Nails, who was Mr. Magnificent Kevin Kelly. Kind of, had a bleach blonde mullet and everything, and was actually in shape, and it was just very bizarre. Very, very bizarre. It was something. It wasn't very good also. The ring was squeaking, and, at this point, it was kind of making some weird noises. You'll know what I mean if you actually watch the show. I don't know why it was 16 minutes. It finally got some energy at the end, and then Ray pinned Summers with a small package, 1, 2, 3. Cool. Let's just move along with this show right here because there wasn't a whole lot to this. We get Boris Zukov with Sheik Adnan Casey, Adnan L. Casey, Adnan, whatever the fuck his name is, versus Crusher Jerry Blackwell with Buck Zumhoff. I told you this wasn't the only time we were going to get Adnan and Zumhoff on the show. I was just hoping that maybe I dreamed it and maybe, it was just a horrible nightmare. Nope, it was not. It was a boring match. It just wasn't very good. We get a ref bump. We get interference. We get a double clothesline while Zumhoff is checking on the ref. And he hits both of them, Blackwell does, and then pins Zukov 1, 2, 3 when Zumhoff, good God, it sounds like a really bad sci-fi show, shoves the ref in 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool, we get that. We get renowned murderer Jimmy Snuka in the main event, and Russ Francis, who's the San Francisco 49ers tight end at the time, had a pretty good showing for himself here, though I will say this, the finish was pretty goddamn dodgy. They took on the terrorist, who was Brian Knobbs in a mask, and the mercenary, who was Ron Fuller in a mask. This was not good. The heels were chasing the back at one point and killed about 2 minutes, then came back. And then Snuka getting beat up was goddamn delightful. It was goddamn great. Russ, however, at the end, after Snuka hit his, fist bump, headbutt, whatever, fucking thing off the ropes, Russ hit the splash, where he obviously wasn't a trained wrestler, but he was a good athlete. So it was a great idea in theory, but he hit with his knees first and everything. It was not a very good splash. If you go and see the end of this, you'll see exactly what I mean. But he does get the pin. And then we get 8 minutes of promos to kill this thing. So yeah, that's what this boring show was. We get Zbyszko yelling a lot. We get Russ at least seeming appreciative, talking about the title being held up and everything. A Snuka promo. Something. Vince paid off the police chief. Something. Nancy Argentino ruined my life by getting murdered. Something. I got away with it. Ha ha ha. Claim bankruptcy because I'm a piece of shit. And I hope that Jimmy Snuka's burning in hell because that's what he fucking deserves to be. Jimmy Snuka deserves to burn in fucking hell for what he did. And what he didn't have to suffer for. And I don't care that he suffered later in his life with a horrible disease. Wasn't the same goddamn thing. He murdered a woman, and he didn't suffer, didn't get any jail time for it. But honestly, the show was what it was. We then get a Jerry Blackwell promo. We get a Nick Bockwinkel promo, and it wasn't bad. At least the promos weren't. The show, it just showed the AWA just didn't have all that much. I hope that they put some more big AWA events from the 70s on their network, if like there's tape of it. Because I would like to actually see the AWA prominently featured. Now, I saw Super Sunday at one point, which wasn't very good either. And I was going to review that, but I was so bored, I actually think I fell asleep during it. Anyway, agree, disagree what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rethlin. I'll see you soon.